and then share screen. And now you're gonna pick whichever one you wanted, which is probably this one, which is it's just gonna be your Chrome.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to share the MLS.
Yep, and then go into share.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wait, no, I think you did it. It's good. And then, yep, you can go into the MLS now.
Okay, I was already signed in.
Yeah.
But now it's making me sign in again. Oh, yeah.
What the heck? Because you left it. I don't know. It's so dumb. There you go. So now I will pull up Zoom on my computer and I'll show you kind of what these. Okay. And then they're gonna log back in. Because what happens is our recordings get way too long. And it's.
How's it going, Tina?
Good, how are you?
Doing good?
Good. What's new?
Nothing. What's good with you?
Getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah, same here, I guess.
Sorry, another respondable showing. Thank you so much. Hunt you down.
How was it yesterday? Is this any good? Did you do yesterday?
No.
Oh.
What was she? What were you asking? She should be.
Oh, I didn't. It was said you were listed in training.
Oh, no, I had already said I would help a gal out, another agent. She was double booked and I had to let the pest control.
And if this ends up to be a lot,
So that's why we're still milling around here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tina, this is what this,
Okay,
and then these guys are both on, and then I'll be on. And then what they can do is they can join in to see what you're doing up here. So you don't have to. And they'll be able
oh,
to
so the
see-
people here will
Mhm.
join in too.
Yep,
Okay.
and you also will be able to do your presentation that way. If you want to.
And then how do I just click on it and it will automatic, when I click out of this and into my presentation, will that share it? Or do
why
I
don't
have
you
to hit
go
share?
try it? Because you shared just this.
Yep.
So you may have to go back and share something, the other one.
So like if I go here, that didn't share with you,
Nope, it
right?
did. So you're perfect.
Oh, it did?
I see it.
Oh, okay.
So we're good to go.
All right.
So, okay, do you guys have, one guy, do you have?
Eli, you're like, what?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so if you want to get it up and then log, I'll send you the link.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to see what she's gonna have up on her.
It will not be the MLS training that Steve Rawl gives. I'm just gonna tell you right now.
Okay, Jason, we're gonna log into the Zoom.
Is your wife in today, Jason? Is she doing lunch for Taylor?
She's scheduled to be part of that.
Is she on the missing list? So can they see me right now?
No, because you're sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
It's actually just actually your camera's
So
off.
you've
so
been,
it's
you've
just-
been licensed for a little bit now?
Yeah.
Wonder why that is.
Yeah, so now,
Maybe it's because,
ready to go full time.
Because I'm on North Star.
maybe because you're not,
But not
your
now?
camera's not.
Not now, no.
Are you doing anything part-time at all?
That same job at one time.
Do I need to do anything?
Well, that's
Got a lot more.
Are you
Oh,
doing
should I click and start video?
Yeah.
I haven't been lately. I was over the summer, but.
Okay. I tried to
I was taking notes. and
do it, but.
texted
I don't want to be on there.
By using,
Because it's never really been brought up.
Oh, really?
I said,
No, it's like so long. I haven't had like a ticket or
What did you
anything
call
in
it?
like so many.
Etiquette.
years.
etiquette of doing.
But they didn't let me do
showings.
it. I was pretty
Listing
disappointed.
and-
Yeah.
and open
It's so
houses, but
convenient.
is
It
this
is,
something
yeah.
that we just don't talk
It's
about?
good money too, it's like. There's like 22 an hour.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, my dad does it, like when he.
Because
he
you will
works
get
for,
those kids that are on the couch and on the chairs. Oh.
So he does like leads during the day, but like in the little like hour that he has, whatever.
As a buyer's,
Oh, DoorDash, yeah.
maybe you already do this, but as a buyer's agent, if I
That
know,
was pretty
especially if I'm
disappointing.
bringing little
I really
people,
wanted to do it.
I will
Yeah, I was-
bribe
I
them
was DoorDash.
and I have treats in my car.
Minneapolis area.
If you don't touch anything while we're in here, I
It was after I was
have.
done that, my insurance
There you go.
company
And if I don't have it with
Go
me,
after
I will tell them,
DoorDash.
if you don't touch anything. and
I only had
else
exterior
the
damage
whole
on my cars.
time, then I will,
Fine.
you know,
Yeah,
pick whatever treat it is you want. The
Oh,
next time I see you.
Nice, yeah,
And
perfect.
they,
It was. It's a big thing. with the insurance.
and if you're
Going
new to
after
the kids,
DoorDash.
like, maybe, oh, so you're new to the kids. They,
Yeah,
they want to hold your
but they
hand.
still let you.
Oh, yeah.
They're willing to hold your hand.
The DoorDash.
I know, I've had some that'll bring cards that they made. It's so
Oh,
cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
So I'll
well,
be like,
the insurance
oh,
company
can
did,
we hold
but
my
they.
hand? And then they'll stay right with
basically
me
DoorDash
because
was
I'm
the
new.
insurance company.
Right?
So should we start, Jess, or what do we?
Yes, I think everybody should have the email.
Everything.
Marjona, do you have a laptop with you? No, okay.
Danielle.
You
Yeah.
too. It's great to
I've
meet
never
you.
been in the MLS though. I don't know.
You don't
if I-
have to.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'll see you.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Tina is going to be talking about buyers, and because our wonderful computer is not working in the room, if you guys log into Zoom in 265, if you log into Zoom, it's going to, she's screen sharing, so then you can see what she's gonna have on her screen. And if you guys wanna just like, you know, closer or something, sit next to each other. Okay, phone, perfect. And then just it, and the volume, you're not muted, but don't accept the volume on your computer or whatever.
Where is the Zoom link?
In your email.
Okay.
And
Should I shut my volume off or no?
yes, you can,
I should shut my volume off.
yes, and then
hear me.
Taylor, we're just turning your volume down.
a second.
Yeah, because that bar.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
said in the middle.
you are much
So-
wiser.
Well, 'cause I
Taylor
said it
and
yesterday,
Michael, if you
and
have
I moved to the
questions,
middle
put them in the
because
chat
that
and I
bar is
will
really
be
annoying. This is
monitoring
like
that.
the
So
only
that's how
spot.
you'll answer or ask questions, because we have to mute you
Yeah,
so
I
that we
don't-
don't have a
Do
ton
you
of
need me to
feedback
scoot
here.
over?
No, I'm good.
There's really, the thing is, like, it's only one
Okay.
slot.
I just pushed it up.
Okay. Is everybody ready?
Yes, we are, Tina.
Ready?
All right, so I am going to help you with buyer consultations and kind of the steps that we go through. I'll be 100% honest. 95% of my business is from my sphere and referrals. So when I do a buyer consultation, it's pretty much me walking in. I already know that I'm going to be working with them. And so we don't really do a lot with the buyer consultation that I have because they look at me and go, you're not going to make me sit through all this, are you? So we kind of do the bullet points of it and I touch on that kind of thing. But I mean, I've had sign calls, obviously, and open house. I have had business from open house. But like I say, the majority of my business is through my sphere and referrals. So work on your sphere. I can't stress that enough. Really build that up, and it doesn't matter who you've met, just put them on there. It's a contact. So I would recommend that. So when I know that I'm going to be working with somebody, I send out my buyer's package first. I email it out to them. So maybe they can, because I'll have information in there like their full name, their emails, their phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. And I believe if I click on this, you guys will see my buyer consultation if you're on the Zoom, right? If I
Yeah,
shared it, because I
and-
shared it with you.
Yes, and all you guys, just make sure you're muted, because I think if you guys all mute yourself on your Zoom, she can turn her volume back on in case somebody has a question.
Okay, so do you see where I have buyer client information there? That I shared with you? Can you see that? Okay, so that's where, if I send it to them ahead of time, maybe they can have all that filled out. A lot of times I'll already have some of that information. But that's something that I'll take with me because it's just a document that we go over everything. And again, so I kind of touch on the bullet points of what's going to happen through the whole process. So we talk about a pre-approval first and foremost. The first thing I ask them is if they have a lender. Do you have a lender? Because we're not gonna be looking at houses if you don't have a lender set up. If you don't have a pre-approval, there's just no point, especially in this market that we're in. Because you're gonna fall in love with the house, and I don't care if you tell me that I'm just really kind of looking and we're not gonna buy anything for a year or 6 months or 9 months, because the minute you set them up on that search, they're gonna find something that they like. It happens all the time. And they'll be like, gosh, I didn't expect for it to go this fast. So just tell them, be proactive, get with a lender and have them start that process, because they're gonna need that pre-approval letter anyways, eventually. So they might as well start in case they have any hiccups in their history. The lender can help them get through that part. And so they're ready to go when they find something that they want. So, yeah.
Right now it's asking for the meeting passcode, sorry.
Oh, 265.
265, sorry.
Yep.
Should know this.
No, that's all right. And then have in your, I do have in my buyer's presentation, a list of lenders, preferred lenders that I use. And so don't tell them to use one lender, give them the option. And I tell everybody, you might as well check into at least a couple. And I'm a firm believer too, within the first minute, you're gonna know which lender you wanna go with. Because it's just who are you comfortable working with? So I would tell them that, figure out which lender works best with you. And the other thing is, tell them you want a lender that will give you a pre-approval letter within a minute or within a period of hours, not days. If they leave at 5 o'clock from their office and they say, well, I can't get you a pre-approval letter until tomorrow. That's not going to work. They need a lender that's going to get you a pre-approval letter right away. Because again, multiple offers, you need that pre-approval letter, and your lender should be working for them. So just really stress to them that you need a lender that's responsive. They're going to be working for them, for the buyer. And a lot of times, again, in multiple offers, sellers or sellers agents, listing agents, they want to see a local lender too. That helps. I'm not saying that I haven't dealt with Rocket Mortgage and some of those, and they've done an okay job. But if you're in multiple offers and stuff, a lot of listing agents or sellers will want to see a local lender. So encourage them to kind of look local and talk with the lender. The other thing is with the lender too, when you make an offer, this is kind of getting ahead of us, but when you make an offer, I always ask the lender to call the listing agent, because as a listing agent, I always call the lender for the offers that we get. I call that lender personally just to make sure that we're all on the same page, that he's aware his client has made an offer. So I call them. So if, as a buyer's agent, if I'm proactive and I have my lender call the listing agent, it's just one thing off the listing agent's plate, and it's going to make you look better. So that's one less thing that they have to do. So again, multiple offers, what we're in is it's good to have that listing agent or the lender reach out to the listing agent, take that out of it. So yeah, first and foremost, when you talk to a buyer, ask them if they have a lender, give them a couple lenders' names, and make sure the lenders' names that you're giving them are people that you are comfortable with too, working with. And so that takes care of the lender piece of it. But like I said, get that out of the way first and just tell them you're going to need it. So you might as well just get started, because as soon as I set you up on a search, you're going to find something that you love. You're going to want to do it. So, all right. So then I send out my buyer's packet first and let them go through all the information. If they have any questions, they can write it down. So when we get there, we're not sitting here going word for word over the buyer's packet that I have, because nobody wants to sit through all that. It's just touch on the bullet points, touch on the major things, but let them read through it themselves first, if you can, if you have time. So, and then like I say, go over the process with them, the pre-approval, which we've hit on, the home search. So you're going to tell them you're going to set them up on an MLS search. I tell my buyers too, a lot of them will say, I have to have a 3-car garage. I have to have a fenced yard. I have to have a 0.25 or more. they have a laundry list of things that they have to have. Just caution them when you do that, you're gonna eliminate a lot of listings that I have had people say, hey, I found this on Zillow, why didn't it show up on my search? Well, because you had me say you want a 0.25 or more, you don't want anything less than 0.25. Well, if there's a park behind you and it's all open and it'll never be built on, you might not care if it's a 0.25 yard. So just bring those things up to them, say the more I restrict your list, or the more specific we are, the less properties you're gonna see. Especially if you have people that are looking at acreages, leave it open, because there again, I have somebody right now that I'm working with and he goes, I want nothing less than 5 acres. Well, they sent me a house today and it's 4.5, and he goes, we'd really like to take a look at it. Well, it's already sold. And so they're bummed it didn't show up on their search, and they knew that they had requested 5+ acres. So, you know, it wasn't like I let them down, but just have that conversation, especially with acreages. You think you want 5 acres. 5 acres is a lot of land, really, unless you're gonna be doing something specific, adding animals or a horse barn or something like that. So you just want them to know, or they say, I have to have 4 bedrooms. Okay, so if I do 3 bedrooms plus, what if there's an unfinished basement and you could add that bedroom and it happens to be in the neighborhood that you love? You might say, well, I'd rather go for the location and I can add my own bedroom. So again, just have that conversation with your buyers to say, you know, are you willing to be a little bit more open so you see more properties? It's a little bit different too if you're setting someone up on a search in St. Paul or Minneapolis and their budget is up to 350. Well, now you're gonna see 100 and some homes. You know, it's gonna be a lot. But you can explain to them too, it's gonna be a lot up front, but once you get through the initial, after you look at it the first time and you put a trash can by it or a heart by it or a light bulb by it, you can trash can all those, but keep in mind that if they trash can it, it doesn't come back unless you reset that search. So that property is gone once they put a trash can by it. But so a lot of things go into like when you're setting them up on a search. Like I say, I always just like to be more broad. Let them weed them out, what they don't like. Because you'll be amazed. What do they always say? Buyers are liars. You'll be amazed at what they like and they didn't think they would like it. You know, so it just depends. All right, so that's setting up on the home search. Offer and negotiations is the next part we talk about in a buyer's consultation. So, you know, and it's one of those things that in our market with multiple offers, you have to tell them, bring your best foot forward first. It's not one of these markets where you can say, well, I'm gonna lowball them first and see where we go. It just does not work. And sellers know that things are going in multiple offers. They're just not going to be open to lowball offers. You can come in. I mean, if the house has been on the market for 15, 20, 30 days and they don't have any offers yet, yeah, you can come in and negotiate with them. But if you're in multiple offers, make sure you have that conversation with them, that that's not the time. You can't lowball when you're in multiple offers. Bring your highest and best offer, which you're comfortable with, and what can you live with if you lose the offer. You know, if you lose the offer and they say, oh, shoot, I would have gone up another 5,000. Well, if that was your comfort level, you should have brought that to the table. So it has to be what they're comfortable with. So let them know multiple offers isn't the time to lowball. And that's all part of the negotiation process. And you'll get a good feel for what your buyers want to do and where they're comfortable at and what the lender says they can do. You'll be talking about closing costs again in multiple offers. That's like the first thing that's off the table. Your buyer can't ask for closing costs if you're in multiple offers. They can, but then you're going to increase the price, the purchase price of your offer. Then you wrap the closing costs into your mortgage, and that's kind of into a whole other thing, but you can do that. It's just, you have to put it on the other side. You have to offer more than and ask them to pay the closing costs. If that's what you want. Also in the negotiation is inspections. This is so important. If you are in the inspection period, well, if you're in multiple offers, a lot of people are waiving inspections, they're not doing them. If you do an inspection, make sure you have a conversation with your buyers that inspection is for health and safety only. Like, and I always tell my buyers, when we walk through a house and we make the offer, what you saw when you made the offer, you don't bring up an inspection. So if there was something you didn't like when your buyer made the offer, that the inspection isn't the time to bring that up. You made the offer knowing that maybe the windows were stuck or whatever the case was. That is the time to have that conversation, is when you're making the offer. So when you do an inspection and now your inspector comes in and says, you know, hey, I don't know what to use for an example, but, and your buyer already knew that. Well, when you made the offer, you saw that maybe the wood floor was, there was gaps in the wood floor or whatever the case is. And that's not an inspection issue anyways. That's because it's like I say, it's health and safety only. But I'm just saying, like, have that conversation with your buyer right up front, that when you make the offer, what you see in that house is what you're negotiating on in the offer. That's not the time during the inspection. The inspection's for things that you couldn't see when you made the offer. When you showed that house, or when they looked at that house and we're negotiating, that inspection is for what you didn't see, and it's for health and safety only. And again, so then if you get into VA, if you get into FHA, there's a whole host of things that have to be fixed before. So like you have to have a handrail. I think it's 4 steps or more. Jessica?
Yeah.
I think it's 4 steps or more. You have to have a handrail, no broken windows, no peeling paint. So that's all stuff that you'll talk about anyway. So that's in the offer negotiations. The other thing is too, in negotiations, make sure you keep your personal feelings out of it, because you're going to be irritated with an agent if they come back and they say, you know, nope, this is what we want. And, you know, you're going to be challenged to be like, that's not fair, but you have to leave that up to your buyer. Ask your buyer, is this what you're comfortable with? And let them make that decision, because if you sway them and they don't get it, they're going to blame you for it, because they're going to feel like you talked them out of it. And it's really their choice. So just make sure that it's the buyer's choice when you're negotiating. Let them do the, you know, yeah, they're going to ask you for advice and you're going to give it to them, but just tell them that's your opinion only, and they have to do what's comfortable for them. So, so once the offer is accepted, they can either accept it, decline it, or counter it. If you lowball too low, they might just flat out decline it. And I had one just last week that I could tell by their, they countered it, but I could tell it, they might as well have just declined it. And I kind of warned my buyers. I said, oh, this is not good, but that's where they wanted to come in. So I had to do it. And now we're starting to negotiate a little bit. My buyers are kind of like, okay, we get it. So it's not always a done deal. So just kind of warn them, you know, you come in super low, they might just decline it and never want to work with you again because you'll offend them. But just keep it real is all they need to do. I already covered inspection negotiations. And then once you're through your contingencies, so you might have an inspection contingency. If you're doing a townhouse, you might have your 10-day right of rescission. So they have 10 days to view the homeowners association documents. So that's another contingency. Financing contingencies, like if you have to sell your house, if they have a house to sell before they can move, the sale might be contingent on that. So once all the contingencies are lifted, then the title company will start doing their work, but your lender will order the appraisal. Once you're through that part of it, the lender will order the appraisal. It's been taking a while. I've always had really good luck. The last one that I had, it took over 2 weeks to get the appraisal back. If you use Keller Mortgage, keep in mind for your buyers, I do a lot with Keller Mortgage. I use them a lot, especially for your like first time home buyers, for young couples and stuff. It's really good. It's going to save them a lot of money on on their closing costs. And if you do Keller Mortgage, they order the appraisal from day one. So the appraisal just starts right away. So, but if you're gonna go through another lender, they don't want to order that right away because they charge the customer for it, or somebody's gonna pay for that appraisal. Where Keller Mortgage just orders it from day one, the minute the offer is accepted, they order the appraisal. So, and then title work, they do their background check on the house. They make sure there's no liens and that kind of stuff on the property. It's just like I say, a background check on the property to make sure somebody's not coming back on your buyer after they move in with their hands out saying, hey, I finished this basement and nobody paid me for it. So the title company makes sure that's done. Your loan approval, so your lender will give you your approval. There's different ways. I always do in the purchase agreement, there's one where you could do a written statement where like I'll go a week before closing. The lender has to do a written statement saying that they're good to go. Basically, they've checked all the boxes, they're good to go, except for the lender will do, some last minute like credit search, that kind of thing, to make sure they didn't lose their job in the last week or they didn't open a line of credit. Oh, that's the other thing. Make sure you tell your clients, if once they have an offer accepted, do not open a line of credit and do not make any big purchases because that will affect their credit. And I
Or
can't
decide to
tell
quit
you.
their job,
Huh?
or decide to quit their job.
Yeah, do not let them quit their job.
You show up every day, buddy.
Right. Because yeah, if they open a line of credit, they go to Home Furniture and open a credit card and buy a bunch of furniture, that's gonna throw a big wrench in their plans.
Don't be
And they'll be
mine.
like, but you never told me that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's just like the other thing. I'm not talking about listings, but I am gonna mention this with listings. Tell your sellers that the TV mounts stay. If they don't want them to stay, take them down before we even go through anything. But TV mounts stay. It's another one I've had happen. The sellers took the TV mounts and were like, those were supposed to stay. And then it's after the fact. You're the day before closing. Who wants to sit and wait for a TV mount? It's not a big deal, but and then once everything's good to go, like you do your final walkthrough. And it just depends on what was, if there was some inspection items that were found and you have to, your buyer asked the seller to fix a bunch of stuff in the house, you're going to want to probably do that final walkthrough a couple days before, so it doesn't blow up the last day if they didn't do it. You're going to say, let's do it 2 days before so we can go in and make sure that they did do the work. Because if you wait until the morning of closing to go in and it's not done, well, you won't be closing because your buyers are going to say, I'm not doing this without them fixing this and that, whatever. If the house is vacant, you can do it the morning of your closing. There's probably not a lot to do other than hopefully the basement didn't flood in the interim there, or somebody didn't come in and do some vandalism or something like that. But if there's work that was done, I would do the walkthrough a couple days before, or at least a day before. So, and then you got your closing. And I always go to my closings, and I know with COVID, it changed. We all used to sit at the closing table together, buyers and sellers, and it was so nice because the sellers would say, oh, Mary down the street is the nicest lady and she does this and this, or Joe over here, this little kid over here will mow your yard for $20, or now they've taken that off. You don't have that personal touch anymore. So the buyers they close on the day of closing. Your sellers will close, they do a pre-sign like 2 days before the actual closing. So we don't have people all at the same closing table anymore, which to me is sad. And I always go to the closing. Like I'll go to the pre-sign with my sellers and I'll go to the closing with my buyers. That's just what I do. And I will tell you, I always go to the inspections too. I know there's a lot of agents that don't. I don't know, Jessica, if you do or not, but I know a lot of agents don't go to the inspections.
Oh, no, inspections, no.
I do because, first of all, I learn a lot when I go to those inspections, and it's stuff that I'll get asked all the time. When you're in the mechanical room and they're talking, the inspector's going this and this and this, I'll be like, I have no idea what that was, and the more inspections you go to, you just learn that much more. And I want to make sure I'm there with my buyer. So I hear what that inspector's saying. Because if he's saying it in a light of, it's not a panic thing, it's not a big deal, but my buyer ramped up and they're like, hey, we're worried this is gonna be a big deal and whatever. I want to make sure I'm there to hear what was said. And can I de-escalate it if it's not a big deal? Because, I'll be super honest, I've had an inspector before that was like hitting all the panic buttons and I'm just like, why are you doing this? There was things that wasn't a big deal. And he even knew that they weren't a big deal. But my buyers, their eyes were huge. They were thinking, oh my gosh, how am I gonna fix all this stuff? When they weren't really that big of a deal. But, so it was good because I was there and I would say to him, but now what would it take to fix this? And he'd say, oh, that's not a big deal. It's $20 to put it in a GFCI, So if you're there, you can kind of get control of it. And when you're negotiating, I want to know what I'm negotiating for. I want to make sure that I'm there. So that's just me. I go to all the inspections, but like I said, I know a lot of agents don't.
Just make sure that you have enough distance where.
Oh, yeah.
Can't come back to you and say, well, but you told me this. So you just keep your mouth shut the entire inspection. if
Right.
You're going. Cause like Greg Hartos will say, if you're gonna go, you sit at the kitchen table and you don't, just because it puts liability on you, if you're gonna be like, oh, well, they said this, or they did this, or,
Yeah.
You just wanna keep it.
You don't want to
balanced.
interact in it.
Right.
Definitely, you don't want to project your feelings again, because you just don't want them to, you don't project your feelings and say, well, I think this. Don't do that because the inspector's there, they're paying that inspector. So he's there for a reason, but just so you know what was really said. So make sure your buyers are interpreting it correctly.
Yep, yep.
So, and then I have a list of, then the rest of my buyer's consultation is just explaining all those bullet points that we just went over. So after I go through those first things, we really don't need to go over the whole buyer's consultation because we already did it. I covered it in those bullet points. It's just if they're sitting at the kitchen table going, now what did she say about closing? They can go back and see it. It's there, so I don't go over everything individually. And then I have a page that says additional expenses. As a buyer, people forget, yeah, I need a lawnmower now. If I have a yard, I need a snow blower or a shovel or whatever the case is. So I just list things that they might need to have and to keep that in mind, that that's going to be an expense.
When you're with them, obviously you're looking at some of that stuff and coming from both, having now been on both sides of it.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of thing you might advise? So like you're in the garage and they're looking at the garage and that's a great time to bring up the snow blower, but it also might be a great time to say, you can offer to buy their snow blower.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so making sure that you have maybe that in your arsenal.
Yeah.
You don't know why the seller's leaving. Maybe
Everything's for sale.
they're going
Everything
to,
has a price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that might be a great option for them if you're knowing what they need.
Yeah. I just helped a couple buy a house in Northfield and it was an older couple and the kids were selling the house. It had an amazing woodworking shop down in the lower level. They left everything, table saws, and my buyer happened to be a woodworker. So, bins and bins of screws and a shop vac, a big shop vac and benches. And they left a pool table, a ping pong table. It was like, and they asked us, they said, do you mind if we leave this stuff? And I was like, so I asked my buyers, but again, so you have to be careful because if they leave something and your buyers, they're like, I don't want that. Well, now you might be the one that's hauling it out because you didn't ask them, do you want this? So just make sure. But like Jason said, if there's a snow blower and this is maybe an elderly couple that's moving into assisted living or a townhouse or something, what are they going to do with that snow blower? They're probably going to put it on Marketplace or the kids are going to sell it anyway, So that's very true. If there's something in there that you're thinking, hey, I'd really like that, it never hurts to ask. And tell your buyers that if there's something that you're interested in, we can always ask and that can be part of the negotiations. So, and many times they'll want to leave it behind because I guarantee you that big pool table that they left at this house, They did not want to take it out. And those kids did not want to mess with the bandsaws and all that stuff. They were very glad when we said, oh, we'd love to take it. The other thing is too, if your buyers, if you see a bunch of cans of paint, make sure you ask your buyers, do you want this paint? And if you don't, make sure you tell the listing agent, hey, they don't want all this paint. Because that's something that sellers, they'll think, oh, well, I'll just leave the paint because they'll probably want to touch it up. Well, there might be 10 cans, 20 cans of paint.
From 1947.
Exactly.
Can't use them.
And your buyers might want to come in and paint every wall white. Who knows? And it's kind of a pain to get rid of paint. You know, you got to go up to the recyclable and all that kind of stuff. So if there's things in there, just make sure you're talking to them about it and what they want to keep and what they don't want to keep. And you might as well be very clear up front with the listing agent. And if somebody that does a great job, I think, because I had to deal with Chad Skobachik, he is very detailed. And I mean, it was really good to work with him because there was no questions about what was staying, what was leaving. It was all written out. So I like that. And you're better off doing that and than playing a guessing game. So let's see. And I have like a page where it says must-haves and wish list. They changed their mind a million times anyways. So I was going to go over, Jessica, why I have the toolbar at the top for the Zoom and I can't get into my, oh, maybe I can do it this way. My MLS search.
Yeah.
Like this is there.
Yeah, if you just go like this. Where's the, like, can you grab it?
Grab it.
There we go.
Perfect.
We can put it on there.
So how many of you have done an MLS search? Y'all, so Jason, you've done one? Okay. So I know there's different ways of doing them too. I can just show you quick how I do it. I go over to the search and Steve Rolfe teaches a MLS class. He's very detailed. It's really good. So I would highly recommend that you take that. I always go detail here under single family, and I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing. You see that? Okay, so I go detail, click on that, and then I pick coming soon and actives. You can pick TNAS because if there's a house that's maybe not listed, something like that, or they took it off for the Christmas holiday, maybe it'll come back on the market. So you can pick that too.
Tina,
Yeah.
not everybody will know what TNAS stands for.
Oh, temporarily not available for showing. Good point. Thanks, Jason. So temporarily not available. If, like I say, if you, over the Christmas holidays, maybe they don't want any showings, they'll mark it as that. So it takes, so nobody can schedule any showings for that period of time. So you can, I personally, I don't set them up on that like that. I usually just do coming soon and actives. You can pick pending too, but pending, it's a done deal. Like it's next to closing. The only thing that's going to happen is their financing would fall apart and then it would come back on the market. Or you can pick, well, you can pick any of them, but the biggest thing would be coming soons and actives. So you'll pick that. You can set your client up on a map search, or you can be specific and do like your municipalities. Or I have a client right now that I'm working with, and he said, my kids are either going to the Wayzata School District, Eden Prairie, or Edina. He's concerned about school district. That's it. So then I'll put those 3 school districts in there, and he'll only see listings that are in those school districts. Thing to be careful of too on those is you could be in Edina and across the street literally is, what is it, Jessica, right? I mean, you could be in the same school district.
Oh, like Lakeville and Apple Valley.
Yeah.
Apple Valley, Farmington.
You go to Apple Valley schools or vice versa.
Right. And there's a difference. If there's a difference in what your school district you're going to, on price wise on the house. So you'll want to just make sure they know that too, that, you know, if you're going by school district, whatever, or say they say, I want to be set up in Edina. Well, just because that you're looking in Edina, it doesn't mean your kids are going to the Edina school district. They might be going to another school district, depending on where they're at. And that affects the price on the house too. So yeah, I have some buyers right now and he's like, well, our budget's 800,000 and we want Why is that at Edina, Eden Prairie? Well, you would be very surprised what you don't get for $800,000 in those 3 school districts. So, yeah, and he said, oh, how about this one? I said, yep, and then he got to looking at it and he goes, oh, yeah, I don't think I want that neighborhood. But it's in that school district, so just kind of tell them to be cautious about that. So you can pick any one of those, or you can do a map search. And so like if somebody says, I work in Bloomington and I have to be within 30 miles of my work. Or like my husband works at Dakota Electric. He has to be within so many miles of, for on-call. If they're on call, he can't be without that miles, whatever it is. So you can do like, I'm gonna do this, you can do the radius, or you can do a rectangle, whatever it is. Okay, and then say I'm gonna go, so you go Bloomington, and then you just make your circle out. And that little number there, like it says now 10.93, 11.38, that's how many miles you are from that point. So if you know their address for where they work and they want to be within so many miles, or they want their commute to be, I don't care where we are, I just don't want to drive over a half an hour commute. Keep in mind, when you're in those areas though, half an hour can be.
Time and miles are not the same.
Right, right. But so that just shows you can do a radius like that, then you can go up and delete the shape. I can do a rectangle, come down here, draw, oh, I did the same thing. Okay, get rid of that. And you can get rid of it by clicking here. I thought I could. There we go, delete the shape. Why isn't it deleting it? Okay, there, it deleted it. So then you do a rectangle, come down here, you go like this. And then if they say later, hey, I want to add another, I want to go a little bit further out. You can drag this like that and make it bigger. You don't have to completely start over. Or, you can come out here and add here, all sorts of stuff. So that's drawing your shapes. You can do a freehand one. Just depends on what you're looking for. And you can do more than one shape, if you want different community, different areas. So like I say, you can either set it up, go back to the criteria. You can do municipality or school district. You can even go by county. So then down here, I always go none under contingent, offer accepted. If I don't click none, you're gonna see every home that's already sold pending inspection or pending 10-day right of rescission or whatever. So I go none because I don't want to show my buyers those houses because the chances of them going in and getting it are very slim. There are times when maybe I would show it to them, but most times not. And then, so then down here, you'll click either all single family homes, or you might do all townhomes, condos, twin homes, whatever. So if I click all single family homes and then come down, you will go down under stories. You can pick 1 story, 1.5 stories. If you want to be very specific, you might have a couple that says, I don't want stairs, so I need a 1-story house. Well, that's somebody that's very specific. So you're going to pick 1 story. If you have somebody that says, I don't want split levels. And I've had people say, I don't want split levels, and they ended up with a split level because maybe there was a split level that was a side split, or it had a really nice big open area. It wasn't your typical up and down. So again, I would just caution them, if they eliminate some of those, they're just not going to see as much. But you can pick one of those, or if you leave it open, it's just going to show you all single family homes. Or do you have to pick each thing? You don't have to pick each story or each. No, right? Just leaves it open. Okay. And then you can go over it, do bedrooms, bathrooms. If you're going to do, say they want 4 bedrooms, you might put 3+ here. Again, because that kind of addresses the thing. There might be 3 up above, then you might have an unfinished basement. So at least you're getting 3 bedrooms, or it might be an office or something like that. So that's where you put your bedrooms.
If you don't do the plus, will it specifically only do 3? Won't do the 4 at all?
Yep. Total baths. Be careful there too, because like I say, you might be able to add a bathroom in the basement, so maybe you're gonna do 2+ there.
And then
Um,
don't like half baths and 3/4 baths, screw that up pretty good too.
yeah,
So,
yep, yep, it can, it can.
So you just want that plus there.
Super, yeah, super general.
I think so
Somebody's
too,
like,
just
I want a fence, do not put in only fenced yards, because so many agents will not even put that in there.
if it's not in the listing, it won't show up then. So that's why I say, I'm very cautious that I tell my buyers, you're better off to be very broad. And then you can get rid of what you don't want, but I'd rather you see more than less. Because I don't want you to go on Zillow and go, why didn't I see this one? And now it's already sold. So, yeah. So there you could put bedrooms, bathrooms. If, the list price, okay, that's another one. So if they say my budget is 5, oh, come on in, Kelly. Your wife is back. So if they say my budget's 500,000. Or, and I don't know, Jessica, how you do this, but if it's 500,000 and I know my couple and they do not want to do fixer uppers, or they don't want to do a lot of updating, whatever, I don't go 0 to 5.
Right.
I'll go maybe 350 to 5 or 3 to 5. And like my client said, their budget's 8. Well, I'm not going to go 0 to 8 because they don't want to look at a $200,000 house that's, obviously I know what they're looking for. So you're going to get so many. So you don't have to go 0 to, if you have a first-time home buyer and he's a single guy and he goes, yeah, I'm open to do some work to it. And my budget's 300. We'll go 0 to 3. Because then you're going to find more stuff for him and he might be willing to do the work on it. But if you have a client, like I say, that their budget is 5 or whatever the case is, they don't want to see the zeros. I wouldn't think so anyway, unless they want fixer uppers and whatnot. You can put in the square footage. I have not had one client say, I have to have 4,000 square feet. It's more about how many bedrooms and bathrooms than it is about the square footage. So, but you might have somebody that says that, I have to have that, and then you can put it there. And then again, you'd put like 4,000 plus. This is where the acres, where you can put in if they want 5 acres. I would caution them, I'd say, well, if you want 5 acres, how about we do 3+? Because they probably don't want under 3, but do they really want 5?
And to your point, I mean, if it backs up against a preserve or something like that,
Yes,
you can have.
then they don't care. And for a lot of people, even in town, they might say, I want at least a 0.3 or whatever. I don't want any neighbors behind me. Well, if there's a park behind you or something that's not going to be built on, do you really need that much yard? Maybe not. So, and then I have added some things. You can get really specific, like multiple garages, lakefront, central air versus window unit. I mean, it can be very, very specific. Do you want a pool or not? That kind of thing. The other thing is too, like some people might say, I want all living facilities on one level. So if it's an older couple, they don't want to go downstairs to do the laundry, but they want a one level, they want everything there. You can pick that here where it says all living facilities on one level. But again, you might be able to change a bedroom into a laundry room, or you might be able to add that laundry room upstairs. And so I probably wouldn't pick that because like I say, or if the listing agent didn't say all living facilities on one level, then you're not going to have that either. So I don't get overly specific. I try to steer my buyers away from that. And most people are totally fine with that. They would rather see more than not. So that's what I put on a search. Jessica, did I miss anything? When you're doing like market analysis for people, so like a CMA, or going to tell someone what their house is worth and stuff, that gets into a whole nother can of worms, because then you're going to pick like pendings and sold, put the closing date, so we won't go into that.
Yeah, can you talk about?
Do you want me to?
No, just a quick question. Why
Yeah.
would somebody need to do some sort of quick CMA if they were doing buyers?
Yep.
You know, it's not like a listing to find out how much it is, but
Yeah.
can you explain why people need to do that?
So not so much with multiple offers, but before multiple offers. Well, you still would want to do it with multiple offers, but it's not as a big of a game changer because if it's going for 40 over or 30 over, doesn't matter what your market analysis says. But say your buyer finds a house and they really they love it and they want to know what they should offer on it. Or am I offering too much, too little? So you're going to do a market analysis of the homes in the area. And I try to keep it within a quarter mile and I try to keep it within like 90 days. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick actives, coming soon, pendings and solds. And over in the close date, I put 0 to 90. So that means anything that has closed within the last 90 days and within a quarter mile of the house that your buyer is looking at. I hone in on that. If there's not enough to look at, so say there wasn't any houses sold in their neighborhood in the last 90 days, then I might open it up to like a half a mile. I might open it up to 120 days. But the problem is if you go too much further than that, you're getting into a neighborhood that's maybe not comparable to your buyer's neighborhood, or you're getting into the summer market versus December market. So it might not be the same. So the closer you can keep it is the better off you are, the more accurate your market analysis will be. But they're going to look to you and say, well, what do you think this house is worth? And that's when you're going to go and do a market analysis to tell them, hey, they're in the ballpark. They've got it priced right. And now, like I say, with the multiple offer situations and stuff, a lot of listing agents are pricing it even a little bit lower, so they get more multiple offers. And it's kind of hard because what sets the bar now, and like I said, this kind of gets into, if you haven't been doing it, it's kind of probably over, but 6 months later, all these houses went for 30,000 over, 40,000 over, 50,000 over. Well, now that sets the new bar for the market analysis because now these houses sold for that much more. So that just raises what, it's hard for me to explain that, but they set the benchmark.
Mhm.
And, or maybe it was worth 350 before, now it's up to 4 because that one sold for 4
Mhm.
and you can see that. So, yeah. So that's when you would want to do that. Jason, what are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking that I just went on a showing the other day and that was, I mean, I think knowing where you're showing people who are looking for houses, what is the market like around here is relevant even to you before it's relevant to them. Because I mean, you're stepping into the situation, especially now, it's new. You don't know. I mean,
Right.
Like in my case, I know what houses in Lakeville go for and that kind of thing, but not everybody's gonna be shopping in my neighborhood, so I don't know.
And be super, okay, so like, I had somebody interested in acreage and they were like, gosh, why is this so cheap? Well, then when I zoom in, they had major power lines over the property. Well, that's why. So railroad tracks right next to it. You know, so those are things too, when you're looking, make sure you zoom in on the map, see what's around that house too. Like, is there industrial buildings around there? Is it a park? Because if you do a listing and there's a park in the backyard, it's obviously worth more than the house 2 blocks away that does not butt up next to the park. You know, so kind of look and see how close it is to a school, your parks. As a buyer, it's worth obviously less. If you're on a busy road, when your buyer sends you a thing and says, hey, I want to see this house, take a good look at it, because if it butts up to 35 or Cedar or something, they might go, yeah, that's too much traffic. I have little kids. I don't want to be there, or I don't want the noise because we can't be outside without hearing it. So when you're looking at those, make sure you zoom in on the map to see what is around that area. And like Jason said, especially if you don't live in that area and you don't know that area that well, pay close attention to what's around there. Like, is it next to a shopping mall? Is it next to a hospital? Is it, is there things about it that make that, drive that price up? So, good point. Yeah, so that's that. And like you say, Steve Rawl does a really good CMA class or a good MLS class. I would recommend taking it because he'll show you how to add different categories on here so you can really hone it in.
Yeah, also on the dashboard, or in your Google folder, you have a PC. There's the PC bookmarks, and in there it has the link for the YouTube channel for MLS. You also could probably just go into YouTube and say MLS, North Star MLS.
Right.
Tons of videos, so you can just go in the chat, type in whatever you want to know, or just, I don't know, watch a bunch of videos. Like, that's not my thing, but
Me either, but
like the MLS, like I've said this a lot, it offers so much stuff. And if there's something you want to specifically do, go in there and check, like neighborhood farming or.
Oh, yeah.
da, 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 da.
Mhm.
You'll be able to find it and it will help your business immensely.
yeah, really, really, really study the MLS. Because I mean, it will, there's a lot of things that it will do for you. And if you know how to navigate in there, it's got a lot of stuff. I have no idea. When somebody says, hey, go to the InfoSparks or whatever, now I do, but before I didn't, under external links, there's all these links. Just start clicking on those and see what they do, see where they take you, because there's a lot of good information in there that will help you with your presentations that you're doing. So then when I go up here, over where it says recent portal visitors, those are people that I have on active searches. And I can see when they looked at their searches. And if they put a heart next to it, if they put a light bulb next to it, I can see all that right there. And so that's on your dashboard. So I mean, that's like a good spot where you can look. But yeah, definitely get to know your MLS because it's going to be your friend and you'll be in it all the time anyways. That's what you're going to be doing. Trying to think if there's anything else on. Do you guys have any questions on the MLS or anything we've talked about so far?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You've been at this a while compared to the people in the room.
Yep.
What's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew when you were new?
It's a tough question.
I know. A lot.
Well, sure. And I mean, that's kind of, because I mean,
I know, I'm trying to think what. I think in the beginning, you're so worried when you sit down with people that, gosh, are they gonna like me? Are we gonna have something to talk about or whatever? And the nice thing about now being into it for a little while, when I go in, and again, most people that I work with, I've known already, or they were referred to me, but don't be something you're not, because they're going to see right through it. And you're going to be nervous. And why? I mean, if you guys don't hit it off, you don't want to work together anyways. And I know they say that you should mirror who you're working with, and to a degree you should, but don't be something that you're not, because it's only going to last so long and it's not going to be a good working relationship. And I am all about relationships. That's why I say I like to do everything. I like to go with them because I want them to know when they're working with me that I'm going to be there from A to Z. It will be me working with them. And we have to get along and we have to be on the same page. And it doesn't mean that you're always going to like everything and they're going to drive you crazy sometimes and you're probably going to drive them crazy, but I don't know. I just think you work with those people pretty intensely and it's a big, big decision for them. So I think you have to be comfortable with each other. I don't know, I guess. That's what I would say. There's lots of stuff I wish I'd known, but everything, right? I don't know. And don't sweat the small stuff because
It's all small stuff.
it'll all get ironed out, and just always keep your cool. And like I say, don't panic. You might get in your car and go, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? But don't let them see that. They don't need to see that. Because to them, you've got it all together and you're good. So I don't know. There was something else I was gonna touch on.
One thing that's really important is, you are the person to keep your clients' emotions in check, right?
Mhm.
Like, you do not pass on what they're feeling to the other agent.
Right.
And vice versa. You don't pass what you're feeling on to them, because they will feel it, and vice versa, the other agent will feel it, right? My clients aren't doing that. It's like, well, okay, a lot of times I've said to agents, I'm like, okay, did you ask your clients? Because I literally just told you this.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say they're not gonna do that because you haven't asked them,
Right.
right? Or if they're like, well, what are your clients gonna do? I don't know, I haven't talked to them. So if you ever get in that position where it's like, any answer now, you're like, I work for my client and I will find out, right? So you stay calm, and then yes, when you hang up, you can freak out.
Yep, you call Jessica.
Oh
my God.
Clients, right? Oh my God. But the
Yep.
thing is too, is if there's any news that you think some party won't like, tell them immediately. Do not
Don't
hang
put it
on to
off.
that.
Yeah.
And do not be like, well, nope, you tell them immediately, because that'll build even more trust. And you say, you know what, this is what happened, and we're gonna figure out a solution. I just wanted to let you know, right? And on the other side of the coin,
Yeah.
there's also things that happen that have nothing to do with your clients.
Right.
Right? Like if title and the lender have something going down and it's not gonna affect your client, don't tell them.
No, yeah. And that's the other thing. Be careful when you're telling, because they don't need to know all the background information. Like, they don't need to know that maybe you and the listing agent are like button heads on something, that the listing agent didn't get you the paperwork on time, or she didn't do this, or she didn't do that, didn't return your call. You don't tell your clients that, because now they have a negative feeling against that listing agent, and it just causes animosity. And there's really no reason. That's what you're there for. You're there to buffer all those things, so you don't get those feelings. And you're the one that's going to keep it calm. And you're going to say, I understand how you feel. You're going to say that a lot. I understand how you feel, but this is what we have to do. Just, take your emotions out of it. And, so yeah, just stay calm and be that buffer for them. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff they don't need to hear that doesn't really have anything to do with them. So, and I agree with Jessica, if something's going on, tell them right away. Like, don't think, oh God, I don't want to say this. And
Like, we're not closing on time. They need to know that.
yeah,
That's not something
There
you
is-
just keep from them.
right. Yep.
Oh, did you talk about etiquette, like showing?
Oh, yes, we were going to talk about this. So like, if you have a client and they got 2 little kids and they're up and down, and they're on the couch and they're on the chairs and they're running around slamming doors and stuff, have a conversation with your clients before you start showings and say, I understand you have 2 very energetic kids and it's going to be hard. Maybe they can stay with grandma or grandpa or a neighbor, or if they come, we just have to make sure that they don't break anything. They're not into things that they can't be into. We'll just have to really make sure that we watch them. So maybe offer them an alternative. Like I say, maybe they could stay with somebody else while we do the showings, or if they're coming, just make sure your buyers know they can't be on their furniture and up and down and that kind of stuff. And tell them if they have to go to the restroom, make sure they go to the restroom before you start showings. If you're on 5 showings, then make a pit stop at the gas station in between showings and go to the restroom. But you really should not use the seller's restrooms. I have been in a vacant house and my buyers did use the bathroom. And I was okay with that. And I did tell the listing agent afterwards, hey, we did use the restroom. It's
I had an
just one of
open
those
house
things.
once where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna run down and use the bathroom down below, right? Wouldn't flush.
Oh, dang.
Oh,
Worst
Jessica,
feeling.
did you feel like Dumb and
I'm
Dumber?
like, so I was downstairs and I'm super embarrassed, but is your toilet not working? And they're like, oh yeah, no. I'm like,
Right. But thank God I only had to pee,
Now you
right?
just,
Like,
Yeah.
just flush first.
God.
Flush first. and
There
then
you
Right,
go.
and that's what I always do, except
you
this
do.
one time, I was like, oh, but when my daughter was 4, before I was an agent, and we were 3, and we were in New York, she did that, and it was winterized or whatever, and so the agent had to go out to the back with a bucket to a pond or a creek, get water, come back, and I was like, we are the most horrible people, but I was like, well, then I will become
Yeah.
an agent, and then I'll do the same thing.
And again, I mean, if it's a little kid and they're potty trained and stuff, and that's your only alternative,
Right, not outside.
100 times I will let them use the bathroom and I will tell the listing agent. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that to the little kid, but if it's an adult and they can hold it, hold it.
Right.
Just kind of tell them that ahead of time. Hey, make sure you do this and, yeah, and make sure you're looking at your notes. If the agent says to leave the lights on, leave the lights on. If they don't say anything, shut the lights off, because I've had a vacant home and they were maybe the last showing of the day and they left all the lights on. Well,
So inconsiderate.
nobody's there and maybe the sellers don't live there. I don't live close by. And now their lights have been on for a day. So make sure you're looking at your notes. If it says to leave the lights on, leave them on. If it doesn't say anything, shut the lights off when you're done. That's a big ear with me, is that,
Totally annoying.
yeah.
The answer's probably obvious, but what does it look like when you have overlapping showings and you're there? And I mean, what are some of the rules that might be involved in that space?
Yeah, and I was at a showing one time and I was leaving, and the one of the other buyer's agents, she was outside with her clients, and I said, hey, I left the key and stuff and whatever. She goes, hey, can you just lock up for me? And I'm like, well, you're still here, I'm leaving. And I said, yep. So just talk to them and see, are they leaving? Are they staying? And like, I'll have the key, and I usually set the key and the electronic lockbox, if that's what it is, that little piece that goes in the lockbox. I usually set it like on the stairway, or if there's a little catch-all table by the front door, I'll set it there. And then if there is multiple buyers agents there, then we just make sure that it stays there, or I'll ask them, we're leaving, the key is here, please lock up. But I've been worried about that, because the one time, I don't think anybody would have locked up if I wouldn't have gone back in, because she was already outside and stuff. So
So you're saying use your people words.
yes, ask. So,
Do you usually ride with buyers? You drive separate? You have a ride with you?
I think for liability issues too, you should have them drive separate. I have had one client, no, actually 2. I had one client that rode with me everywhere, but she was a little bit older and she was not comfortable driving to all the places that we were going to. And I worked with that woman for 6 months. My husband goes, I think she just likes riding around. I said, I'm getting that feeling. So she liked to go to lunch. I'm like, all right, it's time to find a house.
Time for lunch. Hungry? I'm hungry. Tomorrow, should we get breakfast? No.
Yeah.
But it used to be the other way, right?
Yeah.
People used to ride with
Mhm.
the agents all the time.
Always.
Yeah. And then I had somebody that was moving here from Texas. The husband was at work. She flew in and she didn't have a car and a little boy. So I took them with me that day too, because I was kind of showing her around.
We just did a similar thing when they were from out of town.
Yeah.
We were gonna see like 12 places.
Yep.
They don't know the area.
Right. That would have been so chaotic for the buyers. They would have been stressed out just trying to find the places. So
Yeah.
there's situations where you will, but for the most part, they drive separate. Let's see. Oh, never, ever be late to a listing appointment, a buyer's appointment, or your showings. Unless it's something that you absolutely have to be late for, make sure you call them and let them know. But if nothing else, just don't be late. Just always be
And the other
early.
thing too, when we're talking about etiquette, like, I know we talked about this in the past, but make sure that you give the feedback
Yes,
all the time.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're that annoying agent, right? Like I will send out, like, I'm like, oh, send me feedback. And people are probably like, oh, it's just like, but I need it for my sellers, right? And so does the seller that you're working with. And
Yep.
and then they'll know, oh, this person's pretty decent to deal with, right?
Yep, they
And they'll wanna
appreciate
work
that.
with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
One other thing too, I have had clients when we have our showing set up, they get there maybe a few minutes before me, and they're out walking around the house and all around the property, and it's before our time is, that's trespassing. So make sure you tell them, we are not allowed on that property until the time of our showing. So if it's at 10 o'clock, we can't be on the property until 10 o'clock. And they should not be out there walking around without you either. I mean, you should be with them. And tell them that right away, because it's kind of awkward after they're already doing it to say, hey guys, you really shouldn't be out there walking around. So just tell them ahead of time, say, it is trespassing. We have this time from 10 to 11 that we can be on the property, but it's with the understanding that you're with an agent. So I need to be with you when we go.
Certainly, if you've read the news recently, police have busted in on showings, things like that, because neighbors
yeah.
are called.
Oh, really?
So,
Yes.
you want to make sure that you're there with them when they're off.
Yeah.
I feel bad for that guy.
Yeah, and they can
The
tell
agent,
too
he
if,
came out in his sweatpants. I was like, well, which one's the agent? And I was like, oh, dude, the guy in the sweatpants was the agent. I'm like,
what? I didn't
and
see
I think it was
that.
Michigan. It was a black guy and then another two black people, guys, a dad and a son. And the neighbor was like, someone's breaking in. And he's like, I am a real estate agent. We're showing the house. And they got in so much trouble, but the agent walks out in sweatpants. And I'm like, come on, give us a better look than that. right?
Yeah, really?
You're kidding me?
So anyways, that's all I have.
Thank you,
I don't know.
Tina.
Thank you.
Yay, Tina. Sorry. that's what the-
No. Yeah, nope, that's totally fine.
And Olivia, you know what we did? We had everybody go on Zoom since we can't use the big thing. And then she shared her screen and everybody saw what was going on. Like,
There you
talk
go.
about punching here.
I like it.
Figuring stuff out.
I like it.
All right, and Taylor, can you tell Taylor and Michael that we're going to be, Tina, can you tell them we're gonna be, have like at probably 1 o'clock or 12:30?
What do you want me to do?
Tell them.
I can hear you, Jessica.
Oh, Taylor and Michael,
Yes. We're gonna be taking a break. A little bit longer.
they're taking a longer break and you guys can be back on at 1 o'clock?
Yes.
1 o'clock.
Earlier, I'll text them.
Okay, I hope they heard me.
All right, thank you. Got it.
What's the plan?
You can come back whenever they can, thank you. I figured, whatever. Tables, we will have like a ton of people with them,
Okay.
and,